I love Helldivers 2. It is the culmination of so many things that I personally love, and it is easily one of my favorite games of all time. But there are a lot of other great games out there that have influenced me over the years and kind of cultivated my need for a game like Helldivers 2. So today we're going to look at 9 other games that fans of Helldivers 2 are sure to love. And we have to start off with the most obvious one of them all, which is Halo. Specifically Halo 3 ODST. All of the Halo games are great in their own way, but ODST is clearly the best one for anyone who is into Helldivers. ODSTs and Helldivers are two sides of the same coin. They work in similar circumstances. They are dropped from orbit right into enemy territory to complete their objective, whatever their objective may be. Halo 3 ODST combines the timeless gameplay of Halo 3 with an incredible setting and atmosphere, and it uses those to tell a story that is never told in the other Halo games. You get to see the unique perspective of a soldier in the UNSC. It's not a story about super soldiers, it is about a squad of troopers fighting to survive during one of the darkest moments in human history. I think everyone needs to play Halo 3 and Halo 3 ODST. Fans of Helldivers should understand their heritage and understand why the ODST War Bond was such an incredible moment for both franchises. Halo 3 ODST only costs around $5 on Steam, but it also goes on sale very often for only $1. That is an insane amount of value. You get an entire campaign that you can play solo or up to 4 players, and you get Firefight, which is a nice co-op horde mode. But if you see Halo 3 ODST on sale, you might just want to get the Master Chief Collection because that's only around $10 on sale, and that is an insane value. That is 6 entire games, complete with full campaigns that you can play single player or co-op, multiplayer PvP, co-op modes like Firefight and Spartan Ops, a custom game browser to find unique user-generated content, and even Forge mode. Forge mode lets you build your own maps, and I have sunk probably hundreds upon hundreds of hours into Forge mode, just messing around with my friends in it, making maps with my friends and testing them out. It's just such an insane value. The only problem is that this is not on PlayStation, but I wouldn't be surprised if they finally released the MCC on PlayStation sometime after Campaign Evolved releases. I think they're trying to do a bit of a double dip on that, but hopefully MCC will come out on PlayStation because it is one of the best deals in gaming, period. We are going to stick with the old Xbox classics with our next game, which is Gears of War. Gears of War is the OG bro shooter, and it is pretty much the reason why there was an overabundance of third-person shooters during the 7th and 8th console generations, but none of those games could truly match Gears of War. They weren't as visceral and gory, and they were never quite as enjoyable in split screen. Gears of War is definitely one of the best games for some good old-fashioned split-screen co-op, but unfortunately, the only way to play the entire series is on Xbox. Most of these games aren't available on PC. You can only play Gears of War Reloaded, Gears of War 4, and Gears 5 on PC, and if you're on PlayStation, then Gears of War Reloaded is still the only one you have access to, but it is worth playing, especially for a 20-year-old game. And if you're gonna play Gears of War at all, definitely try to get a friend to play with you, especially if they can come over to your place and play split screen. I have played almost all of these games recently, so I can tell you that they still hold up in 2026. Good game design never goes out of fashion, especially when it is built to be played with friends on the same couch. But if you want a game that is just as violent but a bit more modern, then go check out Space Marine 2. It is just a really damn fun game. The gameplay is incredibly satisfying and fluid. You feel like an absolute powerhouse when you're taking out a group of enemies, and fighting the larger enemies feels appropriately challenging. The melee combat feels just excellent. It's so fluid and smooth. The way you combo your attacks together feels seamless and easy to understand, and the ranged combat is it's great. It all just feels right. Space Marine 2 is just really easy to enjoy, especially if you can play with a few friends. You can play the entire campaign in 3-player co-op, and there is a whole co-op mode with tons of unlocks, progression, customization, all that good stuff, and there is even some classic PvP modes. And if you're not a big fan of Warhammer 40k, then don't worry, this game doesn't require you to know anything about 40k. Like me personally, I think 40k is a really cool universe, but I am definitely no expert, and I've had no problems just getting into the game and having fun. If you're looking for a good third-person game that combines great melee, great ranged combat, and in general is just fun to play with friends, then definitely play Space Marine. But if you're not a fan of the super soldier power fantasy and you want something a bit more grounded in the 40k universe, then go check out Darktide. Darktide is an excellent co-op game. It is very much inspired by the old classics like Left 4 Dead and Fat Shark's own Vermintide games. Darktide is another game that just feels right to play. The melee combat in the Tide games is really incredible. You feel like you're cutting down dozens of enemies with each swing, and Darktide of course has ranged combat too. It is really satisfying to gun down a whole wave that's coming right at you and engage in firefights with the more powerful enemies. Darktide also has great variety when it comes to playable characters. There's the veteran, who is just a soldier with a gun and a sword. There's the Ogryn, which is a big, dumb space brute with some hilarious dialogue. There's the Psyker, which is essentially a space mage. He uses the power of hell to smite his enemies. And there's the Zealot, a religious fruitcake that smites down her enemies in the name of the Emperor. And just like Space Marine 2, Darktide is also easy to enjoy for people that aren't familiar with 40k at all. It is a pretty self-contained plot, and it does a good job of showing off some aspects of the 40k universe, plus that soundtrack is just incredible. And if you want to see the game that inspired Darktide and Vermintide, then go back to Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead is one of the greatest co-op games of all time. Everything about Left 4 Dead is nearly perfect. The pacing of the game is perfect. The gameplay and the balance is perfect. The sound design and the soundtrack are pretty much perfect. The length of each campaign is perfect for playing a fun session with your friends. And if you don't want to play a whole campaign, then you can go play survival. Or you can even play the entire game in one of the most creative PvP modes ever introduced into a co-op game. Left 4 Dead 2 has to be one of the best co-op zombie games ever created, and one of the best co-op games ever created, period. Not only do you get 2 games for the price of 1, but you also get access to the Steam Workshop, which lets you endlessly customize your game and do pretty much whatever you want with it. Now, I'll be honest, I am a huge fan of Valve. I'm a fan of pretty much anything Valve makes, but I'm such a big fan only because they just make incredible games and incredible hardware and incredible software. Left 4 Dead 2 is cheap, it's fun, it's moddable, it's everything you could want out of a co-op horde shooter. Left 4 Dead is also deeply rooted in our next game, which is Payday. There's even a Left 4 Dead heist in Payday the Heist and Payday 2. Payday is a franchise that has been all over the map in terms of love and hate from the community, but that's only because people actually care about this franchise. Payday the Heist is a super simple game, very much a product of its time, but it is still very fun, and it definitely appeals to the core heisting fantasy, robbing big banks and stealing diamonds and shit. Payday 2 is the most well-known and beloved game in the franchise, and for good reason. It received updates and DLC for 10 whole years, so it is a massively fleshed out game with pretty much endless content for you to enjoy. And Payday 3 has had a really rough time since it was released, but I think Payday 3 is a good enough co-op game, and it actually did a lot of things that elevated the core gameplay of the franchise. A lot of little things that make the game actually feel good to, well, play. But it's been suffering from missing features and a general lack of content. I think all 3 Payday games have something to offer, but if you want to pick any of them up, I would highly recommend Payday 2 if you're on PC. Payday 2 on console is still a good game, but it is missing tons of updates and DLC. I think it's like 5 or 6 years worth of updates that are missing from the console version, so definitely PC is the way to go for that. But Payday 3 actually is getting updated on console, and in my opinion, it just feels better to play in general, although it is a lot more shallow in terms of the content. The Payday franchise in general just has something special about it though. The atmosphere and the community and the developers and all the inside jokes with these games is pretty unlike anything else I've ever seen. There really is so much to love about the Payday franchise, and right now I'm just praying for the future of this franchise to be a bright one. And Starbreeze really needs to get back on track because there are other co-op games like Deep Rock Galactic that are doing very well for themselves. Deep Rock Galactic is another co-op game that is just really easy to enjoy, but it also offers enough depth for dedicated players to really involve themselves in the game. This game has such a great atmosphere. The visual style is excellent and the dwarves themselves are very charming. I just can't help but smile whenever I hear them talk.
Sorry, little buddy. Your own fault for being full of goodies.
And the gameplay itself is just great too. Fully destructible environments, class-based co-op gameplay, satisfying gunplay, and of course, extremely satisfying mining. Season 6 for Deep Rock actually just came out, but don't let the label of Season 6 fool you. There is pretty much no FOMO in this game at all. You can actually select which season you want to play at any time, and that will change what season pass you can progress through, and it will even change some gameplay elements too. This game is one of the great examples of a live service done right. They have added mountains of free content for years, and they only have paid content as optional cosmetic DLC. And there are a ton of cosmetics to earn in the base game anyways. I highly recommend Deep Rock Galactic to anyone that hasn't played it yet. It's really cheap when it goes on sale, and it's only like 4 gigabytes to install. Plus, it's on Game Pass, so if you have Game Pass, then you can go play it right now. We are gonna switch gears into something totally different now, which is Star Wars Battlefront. And you may be asking yourself which Battlefront I'm referring to, but honestly, I think that all of them have something great to offer. I know that modern Battlefront is all about that PvP action, but the classic Battlefronts offer something far better than that. You can play all the content in these games in full split screen, and the original Xbox version of Battlefront 2 lets you play everything in 4-player split screen. You can play the entire campaign, instant action, and Galactic Conquest with 3 other people in the same room, which is something that we just don't see anymore. Galactic Conquest in particular is just really special when you have a group to play with. Splitting yourself up into teams to fight an actual war over control of the whole galaxy is some of the most fun that you could possibly ever have playing a video game. This game is on literally every Xbox console, and if you have an Xbox One or an Xbox Series, then it runs great in 4-player split screen on there. If you have friends that will play this kind of game with you, then buy the game, order a pizza, and invite them over to play because you will not regret it. And the first Battlefront is great too. I think it has the best maps in the history of the franchise, and you have the ability to go prone, and you get that beautiful loading screen. The biggest downside to this game though is the lack of 4-player split screen, but it is still worth playing if you're a fan of Star Wars or third-person shooters in general. So basically, get the original versions if you're on Xbox, but if you're on PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5, then the classic collection is alright. It is good enough for you and one other person to play together because they somehow forgot to include 4-player split screen in the second game, because Aspire sucks my balls. But if you want something a bit more modern, and that has progression, online multiplayer, and all that good stuff, then you should take a look at Star Wars Battlefront 2. The second one from EA, the reboot, the Battlefront 2, the reboot. This game is better than the other Battlefront games in a number of ways. The graphics are obviously better, and the game features all 3 eras from the movies, and a variety of heroes and units from each era, and it even has content from Rogue One and Solo. The gameplay itself is really smooth and fun, especially when you combine that with the superb sound design and incredible world design. The heroes all feel very different from one another, each with their own abilities and customization, and nothing beats a good match of Galactic Assault. I love how every single map for Galactic Assault has different objectives. Even though they all feature a basic attack and defend structure, sometimes you're stealing an AT-AT from the Empire, or dropping ATTEs on Geonosis. It's incredible the variety you can find in this mode. This game is not without its flaws though. Split screen is a total afterthought. There are some fun missions you can play in split screen, like playing as Han and Chewie and Mos Eisley, but they are quite basic and you will get bored of them before long. The campaign is aggressively average. There is no split screen or co-op functionality at all. It is mostly generic and forgettable. The main character and the main story is not that good, but it does have a few good moments here and there. There are no multi-person vehicles in this game at all, so you cannot hop into a LAT or an ATTE with your friends, and of course there is no galactic conquest, which has been missing for the last 20 years. Battlefront 2 2017 is a really good online multiplayer game, but it is not a good local multiplayer game really at all. The original Battlefront and even Battlefront 2015 are better for split screen play than this game. If you haven't played Battlefront 2 and you want to, I implore you to please play the game on PC and install Kyber. Kyber is a program that lets you mod Battlefront 2, play Battlefront 2 custom servers online with others, and even play the multiplayer modes with bots, which is just insane. I think that the entire Battlefront franchise in general will appeal to fans of third-person shooters like Helldivers 2. You know, Arrowhead talks about grunt fantasy, but Battlefront 2 is the real grunt fantasy. And there is one more game that I would like to talk about, and it is from the same people that brought you the new Battlefront games. It came out this year, and some of you already know what it is. It's Arc Raiders. Yes, Arc Raiders is a PvP game, but it is also an excellent third-person shooter, and it is one of the best extraction shooters on the market. Even though I'm a much bigger fan of Tarkov, Arc Raiders is incredible in so many ways. The PvPvE elements are perfectly balanced. The AI enemies range from being a simple nuisance to being a massive challenge, but you always have to give them some level of respect, and that makes the game so tense. And if you're gonna play Arc Raiders, make sure that you're not too shy. This game is at its best when randoms are talking to each other. No matter if they're friendly or if they shoot you on sight, the proximity voice chat makes this game feel so fresh every time you play it. And that is one of the best parts. It is like an RPG with the amount of ways that you can interact with other players in the match. You can help people complete their missions. You can betray them. You can revive them and save their lives. Or you can simply play it like a running gun shooter if that's your style. Arc Raiders is an incredible game, and I can recommend it to anyone who enjoys third-person shooters, survival games, social sandbox games, and especially anyone who wants a nice change of pace from the other extraction shooters like Tarkov and Hunt Showdown. Do you have any games that you want to recommend to other Helldivers 2 players? And what's your favorite game in this video? Let me know down in the comments. Now, as always, I am going to thank my channel members. However, in my last stream, a bunch of people bought almost 200 gifted memberships, and even though these memberships are gifted to people, I have it stated in my rules that I'm going to read every single name out, so I hope you're ready to hear a lot of names. By the way, if you are a member and you are confused why you're not mentioned here, that is because there is an option in the YouTube privacy settings to keep your subscriptions private. I am not sure if this is the default setting or not, but if you have this on, then you will not be listed in this end of video readout. In the Hell Troopers, we have Swickety, Archangel Shipyards, Dirty Nightmare, Not Saint, Findas 16, John D. Roll, ODST Exotic, Melek Paragon 9231, and Gustavo Marcus 99. And our loyal citizens are Cheddar Yes, Manubi 943, Asmobius Infinitum 7899, Voodoo Roll, Mushroom by the Oak Tree, Goodnight 1106, Cogsy 666, Snapshot VC, Reese Freighter 9962, Pierre Lachatz, Ko Ziu Shamarak, Pengus, Chaos Demon 2007, Eggrich SMG, Radiska Sochnaya, Leterain, Dimeweld, JBL MP3, Zombie 4 Stomper 394, Doc Shockaloo 1422, Well Wet Waffle 312, Nexusis, Pickled Garlic, Scorch 448, Mystic Monkey 839, Gen 8901, Bleedicon, Saul I9T, Latham 2096, Sopanok HJ7, Moro Blizniak 4457, Squibs, Olmuiberg 3205, Cupcake 3D3 Light, Mr. McCavity, MG 2807, Ether 813, Ralsei Gote 69, C2 File, Rational Baz, Josiah 2001, Zach Nimmo W7A, Also 8621, Juan Paredes 1607, Hadriel Striker, SD Ilias 5900, El Capone, Xenomorph 6-Gaming, Baghdad Bill, Axe Zealot, Jason K 1996, Bedrock Boy 2, Vodka Cat 08, A Florida Boy 772, Kubrick 3080, Disc Golf Fanatic, Random Commenter 4405, Zone Goji, Lumi Sweaty Armpits, Typo 3148, In the Filth, Christ 10 Sin, Stand Gedeikt, that's German I think, Mark Zuckerberg, Serenity 6813, Salty Wounds 2882, The Knot is Dead, Delbowman 5593, Ancient Gonzo, Buffalo Bill 3vil 727, Nixon News 1869, Foxy 483, Shad 2 Joshi 399, Mr. Mung Mang, L Patron 42069, Otto Arnup 5466, Wyatt Eason 1876, Oren Hawk, My Shoe 6451, Deku 5803, Gabriel Ortiz 7006, Sam Lund 8543, Another Gamer 81468, Dumb 246, Wario Time 420, Tachika 2697, Tinfoil Freak, Greg W29, Michael Cardio, Gibmore Ram, Cake Boy Bake, Tech Dragon 935, The Pob 360, Guardian Gnosis 2199, Christo Balk 5425, Rat C4, Dante XKV 9983, Orphan Puncher, Ash Milson, and Bion M4. I did that all in one take, just so you're aware. Thank you Findas and Tinfoil Freak for making me read all those out. You guys spent way too much money on making me do that. And that is all I have for today. This is Grand Moff Togan of the SES Prophet of Dawn, signing off.